Thank you for joining me, Diana Master, on NMH at 1, where we highlight the news making waves in Namibia and beyond, ranging from current affairs, community stories, sports, and economic news. Coming up in this broadcast, Katima CEO blasts Uutoni's debt collector stance, NBC alleged profiteering judgment postponed, and Health Ministry denies medical negligence allegations. Follow all our programs on 102.com, DSTV channel 285, and GoTV channel 25 in Namibia. Stay with us, midday news update coming right up. Namibian President Dr. Nangolo Mbumba arrived in Rotterdam, Netherlands to attend the World Hydrogen 2024 Summit and Exhibition from the 13th to the 15th of May 2024. The summit is organized by the Sustainable Energy Council in partnership with the Government of the Netherlands, the City of Rotterdam and the Port of Rotterdam. President Dr. Nangolo Mbumba held official talks with His Majesty King Willem-Alexander Koninklijk Hees, King of the Netherlands, at the Noorderdeinde Palace in Rotterdam on the margins of the World Hydrogen 2024 Summit and Exhibition, as well as His Excellency Mark Rutte, Prime Minister of the Netherlands, at the Ministry of General Affairs in Rotterdam. The discussion focused on mutual growth and cooperation between the two nations. Mbumba invited delegates to visit Namibia and conclude agreements with Namibian businesses to realize the country's industrialization goals. Visual News highlights local stories from across Namibia right after the break. Stay with NMH at 1.
Welcome to What's Cooking, where culinary passion meets expert insights.
Somebody must really want to cook and want to cook good food.
Immerse yourself in the bustling world of professional kitchens as top chefs create mouthwatering dishes. Join us for in-depth interviews as our host explores the experiences and expertise of our guest chefs. Don't miss out. Tune in to What's Cooking on NTV every Friday at 2100 hours and let the culinary adventure begin.
Getting into our visual news, Mervyn Mokoena, a recent graduate of the Women at Work New Beginnings program and former Marine employed by the Namibian Navy, shares his story of battling addiction to crack cocaine. His struggle led to his dismissal from his job, leaving him homeless and fighting to survive. Mokoena states that he was released on parole and has since actively engaged in initiatives aimed at addressing his addiction and focusing on his overall self-improvement. This video is courtesy of Rita Kakelo.
Student and graduate of New Beginnings. Of course, it was initiated by prison, but it's sponsored by FNB. I've just graduated today on the 26th of April, doing sewing and tailoring work. Before this, I was a Marine, working for the Namibian Navy. Through that thing, I was addicted to a drug, a very bad drug called crack cocaine. Because most of the society, most of our young people, we are addicted to some kind of substance abuse, either alcohol or drug. But I was employed. But after that, I had to sustain, and eventually, I got discharged. I stayed away from work because of my habit. I stayed away from work. Now after that, I could not have a sufficient income to support my habit. I started stealing. Stole people's things, stole properties. I had to make ends meet. I had to make amends. So from there on, years went by. I was locked up, paid bills, wounded case like that, and actually I was on my way to become a career criminal. But luckily, I would say luckily, it's a blessing in disguise actually. I went to Swakopmund, I went to stay that side, and I wanted to steal in Hong Kong a laptop. Took it out of the shop. I was caught dead, red-handed with the laptop. I I was charged same day, went to court and they denied me bail because they could not prove my residential address and everything. From there on, they just keep on. From there on, they pulled records and said, "Name, this guy had other cases and pending cases like that and that." From there on, I decided. My grandmother actually called and said, "Man, I should just be accountable and take responsibility for what I have done." At first, I didn't understand, but later on, I started reading the Bible and I said, "Man, there's a way out because God shows you a way, but we are mostly distracted by the world here outside." So I decided to go and plead guilty. I was sentenced to 18 months imprisonment. At that time, I thought it was too much. Yeah, because I couldn't fully understand the magnitude of this, what I'm going through. Yeah, but I started reading the Bible more and more and more. The next day, I was sent to Swakop Correctional Facility. They drafted me to Windhoek. Windhoek, I was at A section there. And the first thing that I've taught myself is like, change comes within. That you won't change if you don't want to change, and the only enemy you have is yourself. Yeah, that's when I started reading uplifting things. I started going to church services. Yeah, I really have to thank God for the strength.
After the break, the Namibian Sun leads us into our newspaper review segment. Stay tuned.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master. Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
eTicket, your online ticket solution for events and event marketing, bringing you ease of mind and making sure that your event gets out there. For more information, contact events@nmh.com.na.
Thank you for staying with NMH at 1. We now take a look at what the lead stories are in Namibia's daily newspapers. The Namibian Sun reports that the CEO of the Katima Town Council, Raphael Liswaniso, has described Urban and Rural Development Minister Erastus Uutoni's call for local authorities to stop using debt collector consultants as irresponsible. For a minister who renders very little support to local authorities, Uutoni's stance borders on electioneering as it encourages residents to continue defaulting on their payment obligations, Liswaniso charged. The minister has done very little to address the plight of local authorities that are faced with skyrocketing debts, the CEO added. He said irresponsible political statements by government leaders have led residents to think that municipal services are meant to be free, further fueling non-payments. On page 3, the judgment in a case in which disgruntled Namibian Broadcasting Corporation employees accused their employer of profiteering from the controversial 2021 strike has been postponed to the 24th of May because it is not ready yet. The judgment was said to be delivered in the Windhoek High Court last Friday before Judge Gabriel Oosthuizen. Ndatelela Alexander from Sisa Namanja & Co. represented the workers, while Ricard Beekers represented NBC and its Director General Stanley Similo. In a document seen by Namibian Sun submitted to the Office of the Ombudsman, the employees claimed that deductions made by NBC during the strike in May 2021 were unfair. According to them, some employees were only left with between $100 Namibian and $1,000 Namibian after deductions, while others had their full salaries deducted. Some employees, however, still received their full salaries. Now, on the front page of the Republican, the Health Ministry stated on Friday that the reporting of the death of a patient who sought medical attention at Katutura Health Center in Windhoek on May 6, 2024 contained inaccuracies. Following the incident, many media outlets and sources reported that the adult male had died while waiting for medical attention, a claim the ministry refutes. According to the ministry's statement, an enrolled nurse conducted a prompt vital signs assessment upon arrival and determined that the male patient was unresponsive and showed no signs of life. The healthcare workers at the facility assert that based on the chronology of events and their observations, there is no evidence to support the claim that the person passed away while waiting to receive treatment. This comes after learning from the man who brought the patient that they had first visited Hakahana Clinic around 5 p.m. before being redirected to the mentioned healthcare center as Hakahana Clinic closes at that hour. An off-duty nurse waiting for transportation outside Hakahana Clinic assisted and determined that the patient's pulse was low. She advised the driver to proceed to other clinics that operate 24 hours. Approximately 15 minutes later, the patient arrived at the health center where an enrolled nurse, a senior nurse and a doctor attended to his case. Upon examination, they determined that he showed no signs of life and was dead on arrival. On page 3, SWAPO Secretary General Sophia Shaningwa says the party wants to reclaim its two-thirds majority in the upcoming elections, a position it lost following the 2019 presidential election. The late President Hage Geingob, in his re-election campaign in 2019, received 56.3% of the votes, a significant drop from his 87% win in 2014. Independent candidate Panduleni Etula garnered 29.4% of the votes, while the Popular Democratic Movement's McHenry Venani secured 5.3%. The ruling party's support plummeted from 83% in the 2015 regional elections to 57% in 2020 and from 74% in the 2015 regional elections to 40% in 2020. SWAPO held a majority in 52 out of the 57 local authorities in 2015. However, the 2020 elections saw the party lose its majority in 33 local authorities. The biggest occurred in the central and southern areas. Opposition parties gained ground during the 2019 and 2020 elections, challenging SWAPO's long-standing electoral dominance. Speaking at the rally, Shaningwa encouraged party members to focus on registering themselves during the general registration of voters. Registration is a critical role in regaining dominance. Victory can only be achieved by registering ourselves at the general registration of voters on the 3rd of June. This is the weapon we need to assist our presidential candidate, Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, to win when it's time to vote, she said. Now, on its front page, Algemene Zeitung reports that local startup Tololi has secured a coveted spot on Yale Africa Startup Review's prestigious YASR 30 list. On the paper's page 3, the Ministry of Health rejects the accusations spread on social networks and by various media outlets. The patient did not die while waiting for medical assistance. That brings us to the end of the first half of our newspaper review segment. We continue with the second half right after this break.
Are you tired of just hanging around at home while waiting for something to do? Check out eticket.diary.my.na for what's hot on the social scene across the country. Or if you're arranging an event you'd like us to feature, contact Jareen at we.com.na. We can sell your tickets too.
Welcome to Namibia, where adventure meets tranquility. With Enjoy, you have access to a wide range of accommodations to suit every traveler's taste and budget. Experience the finest dining and hospitality Namibia has to offer. Booking your dream accommodation is just a few clicks away with Enjoy. Join thousands of happy travelers who have trusted Enjoy for their Namibian getaway. Your gateway to unforgettable Namibian adventures. Visit us today at enjoy.my.na.
Continuing right along with our newspaper review segment, the Namibian newspaper reports that Popular Democratic Movement parliamentarian Maximilian Kashimune has slammed the decision by the Ministry of Sport, Youth and National Service to pay over 10.8 million Namibian dollars to businessman Erastus Chico Shapumba for rentals. The ministry plans to move into the Shapumba-owned property in the heart of the Central Business District in the second half of the year, a move which is set to double their current rentals. The ministry's executive director Erastus Haitengela says they are currently paying 450,000 Namibian dollars per month, which totals 5.4 million Namibian dollars a year. Haitengele says the decision to move to Shapumba's new building will allow all staff members to work in one location and offer a better working environment. The rental amount will be more than double what we are currently paying Namibia Industrial Development Agency. The difference is that we are not all housed under NIDA now, but where we are going, we will be, Haitengele told the Namibian yesterday. The Namibian also sent questions to Shapumba. He said he was unable to talk while at the farm because of a bad network connection. On page 3, one of the key figures in the fish rod fishing quotas fraud, corruption and racketeering case, James Hatuikulipi, says there are no funds in 2 bank accounts in Dubai into which more than $4 million allegedly derived from the sale of unlawfully obtained Namibian fishing quotas was paid. Hatuikulipi says this in a sworn statement filed at the Windhoek High Court in an application in which he is asking the court to order the release of 5.75 million Namibian dollars from bank and investment accounts placed under a property restraint order in terms of the Prevention of Organized Crime Act. According to Hatuikulipi, he needs the 5.75 million Namibian dollars to pay his legal expenses in the pending criminal case in which he and 9 other persons are due to be prosecuted on charges based on allegations that they unlawfully received Namibian fishing quotas that were later sold to the Icelandic-owned fishing company group Samergy. The New Era's lead story reports that the Kavango West leadership says the marginalized community's food program is not achieving its intended purpose, a situation that has left many starving. The program is run by the Ministry of Gender Equality, Poverty Eradication and Social Welfare. Our appeal is for this program to be run through the Regional Council, just like the drought relief, so that the Chief Regional Officer can be in control, appealed Governor Sitka Ausiku during a meeting with Deputy Prime Minister John Mutorwa recently. The Kavango West Regional Council said they have attempted to assist with the program, but those responsible have not come to the party. According to the governor, sometimes when the food is available, it stays in the warehouse for extended periods while intended beneficiaries, particularly the San community, starve. On the paper's page 3, the United Nations Population Fund representative Erica Goldson says among the 20 reporting countries, Namibia and Comoros lack a national curriculum for midwifery education. She continued that this deficiency underscores a critical gap that must be addressed to bolster the effectiveness of midwifery services. High-quality midwifery education is an essential ingredient for quality care. Inadequate education and training jeopardize the professional identity, competence, and confidence of midwives, she stated over the weekend during the commemoration of the International Day of the Midwife in Windhoek. In the face of a worsening climate crisis, the need for midwives has never been more urgent, she said. Now, according to Market Watch, BHP Group said yesterday that Anglo American had rejected a revised buyout offer valuing the company at $42.67 billion. Anglo American in April rebuffed BHP's $39 billion all-share takeover proposal, saying it was opportunistic and significantly undervalued in its prospects. BHP is disappointed that the Anglo American board has chosen not to engage with BHP concerning the revised proposal and the improved terms, it said in a statement. BHP continues to believe that a combination of the two businesses would deliver significant value for all shareholders, it added. Bloomberg reported that Anglo American's shareholders were pushing the company to speed up the release of its turnaround plan as the 107-year-old miner seeks to present an alternative to BHP Group's takeover bid. Anglo has been reviewing its business since mid-2023, looking at every mine in its portfolio to help reshape a company that's fallen behind competitors in recent years. Yet the process was broadsided by a takeover approach last month from the world's biggest miner. Sticking with economic news, Namport handles a record 8 million tons in cargo. We give you the full details of the story as we move over to economic news coming up after the break.
Hello and welcome to today's Sports Rep Show.
I am your host, Jesse Jackson Kauraifa. In replay, Namibia, who had won the toss for the first time on this tour.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, starting off with tennis news, both on the WTA for women's and
The Namibian Ports Authority has set a new record by handling 8 million tons of cargo in the fiscal year ending 31 March 2024, marking a 4% increase from the previous year's 7.7 million tons. Namport Executive for Commercial Services Elias Ngwenyo said major exports contributing to this achievement include salt, copper concentrate, bagged salt, frozen fish, manganese ore, and zinc or lead concentrate. Specifically, bulk salt saw a growth of 10%, copper concentrate increased by 12%, salt bagged witnessed a 1% rise, frozen fish surged by 29%, manganese ore increased to 15.7%, zinc or lead concentrates grew by 2.9%, and marble increased by 41%, he said. Meanwhile, during the 2023-2024 financial year, there were significant increases in the importation of various commodities. He noted that petroleum surged, representing a substantial 26% increase during the period under review. Other imported commodities also experienced noteworthy growth, including copper concentrate, ammonium nitrate, wheat, ship spares, and steel. Additionally, the authority recorded a commendable 7.9% increase in the importation of goods in comparison to the previous financial year. We'll now take a look at the financial indicators just before we get into African news. The Namibian dollar trades at 23.02 against the British pound, 19.84 to the euro, 18.39 against the US dollar, and 2 Namibian dollars and 54 cents Baji, 1 Chinese yuan. Letego Holdings Namibia Limited stocks took an upturn of 2.50%. Namibia Breweries Limited stocks are also up by 0.03%, while First Rand Namibia Limited stocks took a dip of 0.50%, and the rest of the selected NSX stock closing prices maintained. All commodities are up save for Brent crude oil, which took a dip of 0.05%, now trading at $83.80 US per barrel. Local index closed on an upturn of 0.12%, while overall index closed on a downturn of 0.05%. We now expand beyond Namibia's borders to give you the latest news from the African continent here on NMH at 1, and a little later on we bring you international news from the rest of the globe. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa is due to sign into law a contentious national health bill that aims to provide universal coverage to millions of poor citizens. The National Health Insurance Bill seeks to give South Africans of all races, rich or poor, and legal long-term residents access to quality health care. It was passed by lawmakers last year and is set to be implemented in stages at a cost of billions of dollars. The opposition parties and civil society groups wanted the bill to be referred back to Parliament, saying it was flawed in its current form. The bill will be signed into law on Wednesday at the Union Buildings, the presidential office in the capital Pretoria, the presidency said. It comes just days before the 29 May national election that could test the ruling African National Congress's 13-year rule. South Africa is still considered one of the most unequal societies in the world, with a huge wealth gap and 84% of South Africans relying on often poor quality public health care. We'll now take a quick ad break and bring you international news when we get back. Testimony from the star witness in Donald Trump's Manhattan trial has repeatedly tied a 2016 hush money arrangement back to the ex-president. Trump's former lawyer Michael Cohen said he spoke to him immediately after wiring the $130,000 payment to adult film actress Stormy Daniels. It was one of many times he operated quote-unquote at the direction of and for the benefit of Trump, he testified. Excuse me. Now, the former president has pleaded not guilty to felony charges against him. Altogether, Trump faces 34 counts of business fraud for allegedly reimbursing Cohen for the payment through transactions masked as legal expenses. Daniels had, in exchange for the money, agreed to keep quiet about allegedly having sex with Trump while he was married. He has denied ever having sex with Daniels. Prosecutors charged that the payment made in the final days of the 2016 presidential campaign and the subsequent attempt to conceal it by falsifying records qualifies as election interference. As the former president sat back in his chair listening with his eyes closed, Cohen told the court on Monday that Trump had approved the repayment plan. When the then personal fixer met with Mr. Trump and his top financial officer, Alan Weisselberg, between the presidential election and the inauguration, the latter did the talking, Cohen said. That brings us to the end of our international news segment, but we get into local sports news when we come back.
E-ticket, your online ticket solution for events and event marketing, bringing you ease of mind and making sure that your event gets out there. For more information, contact events@nmh.com.na.
We start off with our local sports news. It was more than just a rugby match when the first teams of FNB Rio Falcon and Simona Storm Dolphins met in the Namibia Rugby Union Premier League last Saturday. The Namibian Cycling Federation is celebrating 2 new Continental Junior champions following the completion of the African Mountain Biking Championship in Casablanca, Morocco last weekend. And the Namibia Table Tennis Association last weekend held trials to select an under-15 girls and boys team to represent the country at the International Table Tennis Federation African Youth Games in July. Right after this, we get into our international sports news. John Duran struck twice in the final 5 minutes to salvage a 3-3 draw for Aston Villa against Liverpool, but they fell short of guaranteeing a place in next season's Champions League on Monday. Bangladesh included experienced all-rounder Shakib Al Hassan in their 15-man squad for the 2020 World Cup in the West Indies and United States in June. And defender Layvin Kurzawa will leave Paris Saint-Germain at the end of the season, he said on Monday after 9 years with the Ligue 1 club. If you're just joining us, this is NMH at 1 and we'll get into the highlights from today's broadcast right after this.
Hello and welcome to today's Sports Rep Show.
I am your host, Jesse Jackson Kauraika. In replay, Namibia, who had won the toss for the first time on this tour.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, starting off with tennis news, both on the WTA for women's and
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master. Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
You're still with NMH at 1. For those of you that are just joining us, or for those of you that need a quick recap, let's get into the highlights from today's broadcast. In African news, South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa is due to sign into law a contentious national health bill that aims to provide universal coverage to millions of poor citizens. In international news, testimony from the star witness in Donald Trump's Manhattan trial has repeatedly tied the 2016 hush money arrangement back to the ex-president. Trump's former lawyer Michael Cohen said he spoke to him immediately after wiring the $130,000 payment to adult film actress Stormy Daniels. And in local sports news, the Namibia Cycling Federation is celebrating 2 new Continental Junior champions following the completion of the African Mountain Biking Championship in Casablanca, Morocco last weekend. Those have been your highlights. Remember to tune in every weekday at 1 p.m. to spend your lunch hour with NMH at 1, catching up on the latest news in Namibia and beyond. From me, Diana Master, happy Tuesday.